Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. This is update number 26 of my HO scale layout. As usual, I've been making progress, but in a very scattered way. I've been working on things here and there, pretty much testing things out, planning ahead, making sure things work before I continue and before I complete any one particular thing. And so far, it seems to be the way to go because I fear that if I just do one thing and not consider the entire layout as part of it, I might run into a major problem later on. So, with that said, all these little projects have been progressing, but I have been trying to focus on completing my CSX double main. And if you haven't watched my videos in the past, my layout is basically two railroads in one. So I have the area I'm modeling basically is between like Schenectady and Plattsburgh, and I'm using the CP Canadian Pacific Norfolk Southern line, which is a single main with passing sidings, for the most part, as my core line, and then I have a CSX double main that kind of parallels the layout on the main level. So it gives you the feeling of having two separate railroads. And this, what you see here, is actually the junction point between the three. So my CP and S line is all the way to the left, and my double main on the CSX is these two tracks on the right side here. So I've been focusing on completing that because I have other things that are going to affect the CP line if I don't, really plan this out correctly. So I've gotten pretty far, at least with basic track work. I haven't been able to set up like any block detection or any true separate buses for my block detection. So I'm just running it on one bus right now. But here's some of the things I've been working on, and I'll kind of take you around with the locomotive. And by the way, CSX must be very upset that I have all these NS cars and the locomotive on their line, but this is what I'm using to test the track work. So let me just reverse or rewind here a little bit. So the biggest issue that I ran into originally was being able to have the CPNS line duck under the double main here for CSX, which is what happens in Schenectady. And this area here is obviously representing Schenectady. So there's a point where it crosses like this. So I finally got all that worked out. I figured out the bench work. I figured out the bridge situation. And I even was able to test out one of the mains for CSX to get around and over. And basically what's happening is we're gaining height here on the CSX on this very light grade. And this CP line is just going under and then starting to come up to the level right there. So not too much stress on the locomotives. It doesn't look toyish. It's not a ridiculous grade by any means on both lines. So I'm happy with that. So that was the first battle, and I think I'm okay with that. Then the next thing was to continue to climb slightly, because I have this. Sorry about the mess here. I have a flyover here that's going to go over the yard, and this is actually considered the south yard because the yard is split up into basically a classification yard back there, which is a little bit on the small side, but it still can hold a decent amount of cars within the ladder. And then there's going to be a kind of like lead and also like a drill track that's going to connect. It's going to serve as two things to be able to work the yard over there and also to connect to the south yard over here. So the south yard is going to have 4 long tracks starting pretty much around here somewhere that are going to go straight. As you can see here, I'm missing one, but and it's going to go under this flyover for CSX. And then there's going to be a 5th track that kind of like hugs the edge here, not too far into the edge, but just enough to get away from those tracks a little bit. And then it's going to basically curve out here, and then it's going to open up into 2, possibly 3 yard tracks that are going to sit here, and this is going to end up being my intermodal yard. Now the point of having the yard here is not for classification. It's more for unit trains, auto rack trains, you know, container cars and things like that, where you could just, you know, the container cars can just basically pull in here, switch out the containers, or if you have trailers or whatever, and then they can get stored over here before they're ready to, you know, to go out into the main. So as to not, you know, block and clog up the classification yard, which is going to be more for manifest trains on that side. And we're going to get to that in one sec, once I make my way around. So basically, I've taken my track work, sort of, up to this point here. This is becoming a little bit tricky because not only am I on a curve, but I have to go over this big area of track here. And they don't really make bridges necessarily that are set up for this kind of situation. Plus, I don't want to have a deck girder bridge because I don't have the clearance. So it would have to be something more like this, where the bottom of it is not going to interrupt any kind of clearance points, and then all the support's coming from the top part. But I didn't want to have like a big bridge, like a trestle or anything like that, if that's what you call it. Because it's on a curve and it's going to get tricky. So what I'm going to make it is basically not a deck girder bridge, but I don't know what they call it. Well, it's basically going to be like that, but it's going to be ballasted tracks. So it's going to be like a solid platform. And then I'm going to add the side panels later on and make it, you know, dress it up to make it look like a bridge. But basically the track work is going to continue without any interruption across. And then it'll start making its way down. I'm still working out all this bench work here, but it's gonna go all the way to where those boxes are over there, so that it has a nice slow climb if it's heading in this direction, and the grade is not going to be past, like, let's say, you know, 3%. It's probably gonna end up being like 2.5, maybe a little under, before it gets into the yard over there. So this is what I'm working on. The reason why I haven't been able to continue to work on this is because I need more plywood. So I have to get to Home Depot at some point to finish that off. Originally, this was not supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be already at the you know, level of the bench work, and I was just going to go across this homosode platform here and then over to the next section. But what happened was I built this up and I figured it out, and then I realized that I have to come down a lot slower. So there's going to be wood over this only on that side of the homosode, because the little lead that I told you that connects both yards is going to ride on the homosode on the outside here. So it's going to be 2 mains coming down, and then this one's going to be flat coming from there. So I guess the turnouts are going to sit somewhere in this area, or maybe even deeper, before they connect to that third track that's going to come back and head out to the south yard. So, I feel like I'm going on a tangent here, but it's part of the planning that I've been doing. So let's go back the other way. Once I figure out the bridge, then I could just basically, and the slope, then I could basically take the track work all the way to the connecting point, which is right there. But I'll take you around the other way so you can see how I got there in the first place. So what's going to happen here is that there's going to be some kind of signal bridge here. I did get these beautiful BLMA signal bridges, the cantilever ones, but I have a right and a left, so it'll say, you know, obviously the other way around. The only issue that I'm having, and maybe somebody can help me with this if you're watching, and just leave me a comment or so, is trying to figure out how many actual aspects, how many heads I need on the bridge, because I'm assuming it has to be 3, at least for the outside one, like the the one on the left side here, because I have basically 2 sections of track that I have the ability to cross over on. So one's going to be here, obviously, once I add the turnout. So that would be like, let's say you have 3 heads. That would be the second head telling you can go to the diverging route, because the top head would tell you can go straight. The middle head would tell you can go to the diverging route. And then I'm assuming the bottom head would mean that you're going to go into diverging route, and then you're going to diverge again here to get to the CP line. So that's what I'm assuming I need. You know, I would need those 2 that I just showed you here for the CSX line, and then maybe a separate one here, like just a single mast with 3 heads on it, to tell you that you can go into the diverging route here and then again cross over here. I don't know that I would need any signals in the middle, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I know very basic stuff about signaling. On the other side, because these tracks are so much closer together here, the 3, you know, from both railroads, I'm going to put a triple bridge that's just going to go over this right here. And it fits right here, actually. I already have it. And I'm assuming, again, that I need 3 heads on each one of them, because each one has 3 options of which way they can go. So, I don't know. If anybody knows how to set that up correctly, please let me know. So anyways, my point is that I would have to add a head to each one of those to make it look more realistic and obviously more functional. All right, so I'm just gonna get this locomotive started here. So this is old news here. This has been, you know, down for a while now. I'm just gonna go in here. Basically, I'm running all of this on 1 feeder wire, so if it stalls or something, don't blame the owner of the layout here. So yeah, this is gonna be 2 nice, you know, I wanted to make the CSX kind of like a very twisty turny kind of a line, so it has some contrast from the other line, because I don't want to make them all do the same exact thing. So that's why I pulled it into here, and then I did this kind of thing just to make it look more interesting. And then that also allows me to put a turnout here eventually and do some kind of industry here. And I put a turnout there to bring it back and do an industry here. So also my concept with the domain is that the track on the what do you want to call it, on the right side or on the inside, is going to be only in this direction, and then the track on the outside is going to be in the opposite direction. So I don't know if you want to call that north and south, or east-west, whatever. But I'm assuming north-south because of the yard situation over there. And so the reason I'm saying that is because I want to make sure that the turnouts on that track are trailing, so that the train can come in and then just back into the industry. So I don't have to be crossing over to the other side and all that stuff. Now, I'm not limiting the line to that. Obviously, if I want to run, let's say, a southbound, which is what I'm doing now, on this side, I can do that. I just cross over and do that. But I don't want to. I want to make it a little bit more reliable in that anybody working the railroad that day knows that, you know, if you're on that side, you're most likely traveling in that direction unless you have special permission to come the other way. Okay, anyways, I stopped here because I'm trying to work out the bridge for the CSX also, and I was going to use these, and I think I still will use that. And it's basically all Walter, you know, deck bridges. This is a 90-footer, and these are like I want to say like 45 or 50 footers, something like that. So I'm gonna get 2 sets of these. Actually, I already had 2 sets of these, but one ended up there. So I'll talk about that in 1 second. So these are going to obviously be parallel to each other, and they're going to sit in this area. I have temporary wood right now just sitting there just so I can get the train across, but eventually I will cut it and insert the bridge here. So I think it's going to look neat. I am going to use bridge track so you can see into the water once I get this river figured out, and it looks nice for photography right in this angle here with the bridge behind it. And, you know, obviously you'll have meets with one train, you know, going this way, whatever. So I'm excited about that. Let's keep going. So as you can see, you know, the track work is temporary right now, but it's working nicely. Some of it is permanent. I have glued, the last section is all glued. I have glued this here up to the turnout, and then everything after that is pretty much just kind of floating right now until I figure out what I'm doing. But talking about this bridge again, I think I already spoke about this in my last video, but this is one of the things that I was telling you about, where you have to kind of try things out. You have to be sure that this is going to work before you start introducing the other line. So I had no idea how I was going to get the CSX line to look through here. I knew it had to go through here, but I didn't have this bridge up yet. So now that I have it up and the bridge is working nicely, I was able to, you know, figure out the smoothest way and the cleanest way to get through there. And I love the way this curve came out. It looks great on video, and I don't have any trains doing anything extreme, especially like auto racks, like where they look like they're bending and twisting and stuff like that. So that's nice. I will be putting another that's a number 6. I'm going to put another number 6 there. Obviously, I'm just trying to figure out the spacing, and then there's going to be a left number 6 that's going to go into the yard. So for the ladder. So the ladder is basically going to start right around here somewhere. You can see I'm already kind of plotting it out, and it's going to continue through. Now I wasn't planning on doing this. I was going to make the backdrop solid, so, and with a little opening there just to get through, but I actually decided to go with a big window here, because now you know, if you're running a session here and you're in control of a train that has to go through here, you can kind of peek through and see what's up ahead. Similarly, and this is the real reason why I did it this way, is if you're the yard master and you're working the yard on the other side, you can peek through. Let's say you have a really long train and it's drilling and the locomotives are up here somewhere, you can actually see them just by peeking through. So there's no guesswork when you have that job. So anyways, yeah, so that's where the ladder's going to start, and then I might have something where there's like a yard lead that comes through here or something. I don't know. I'm still kind of playing with that. But the main thing that I wanted to get up was the main line. So that's up and that's running. Let me continue here. I just want to show you the curves, how nice it came out. I'm running a little faster here. It's going to be a nice scene, I think, with the bridges and, you know, all that stuff. But you see how nice and soft those curves are? I love that. Obviously, I have to get the backdrop up on the other side. I ran out of masonite also. And I'm going to walk you over to the other side. Now, ideally, you wouldn't have to do this, but the CSX line is a very simple kind of run. It's just going to be, when I'm here by myself, it's just going to be running in circles while I run the CP and the NS line, and then once in a while I'll come back here and do something. But you know, my main focus is obviously going to be up here with the CPNS, which is my original railroad that I was building. But when I have a session, this will add so many more jobs to the situation. You know, obviously I already said yard master, who has to be in charge of 2 yards, so they can even have an assistant for anybody working back there, which will be kind of neat. This will be the classification yard here. That's where the ladder's coming in that I showed you before. I'm planning on having 6 tracks. 2 of them are going to be arrival departure, and if I need more tracks, I'll just make 1 the arrival departure tracks. So anything long, you know, auto rack trains, things like that can basically sit here, you know, parallel to the domain. And the way I see it is, this distance, basically from where the ladder is going to start right there, all the way to here is very similar to one of my sidings, because my sidings are about that long. So I almost try to visualize, if I stretch this out, you know, it's a little shorter, but it's pretty much the distance of this run right here. So I can get a typical train in here if I needed to from the CPNS line. Now, obviously, this is a different railroad. This is CSX. So anything I'm running on CSX, I'll limit to those sides of the yard, the longest, you know, track or whatever, and then I'll work from there. The yard also is going to have the facilities here, like the engine facility and any parking, train parking. I might have like a refueling track that goes that way, or some kind of repair in place situation. But that's that's always going to be a project after the main line's already completed. So my main goal was just to finish that main line. Obviously, it's not finished. I have the outer line, which is the one I was worried about because I was afraid that this radius was going to be too tight, and then that it was going to dictate all my yard ladders. Like if I made that radius tighter just to get back further, like let's say I made it like a 30 or something, this would have ended up being like a 22 or less, and I can't have that. So I decided that the smallest radius I wanted to have in the yard was a 26, and then I was going to go 2.5 inches from track to track and dictating the radius of those tracks, and then the main line in the back. This area I'm going to use for a small facility. I'll probably put a curved turnout right here and go this way. Originally I had one here. You can see the cork. I set it up like this originally, but then I realized that if the trains are coming in this direction, you don't want a facing yard turnout there. So I took it out and I'm going to put it here instead. And the reason why I can't put a straight turnout here is because I'm closer to the wall here than I am on this side. With that, also, just to add to that, I did this on purpose so I can get some kind of small structure, like like one of those flat backdrop structures, and also a photo backdrop back there, so it looks more three-dimensional. It looks, you can get that depth by putting some kind of real structures in front of the photo backdrop. But I just didn't have the room on this side. Plus, it has to line up with that, and I can't bring that out any further. My wife's going to kill me. She already noticed that I brought that out twice the amount that I told her I would, and she was like, you told me you weren't going to do that. But whatever, she's okay with it now. So anyways, all this is going to be basically a double main that's going to come across, and then at this point is where all the crossovers are going to happen, including the one that's going to go to the yard back there. So like I said, everything's working nicely. And I don't want it to be a super complicated double main. I just want it to kind of be something that I can run around endlessly and not have to worry about it while I run the other trains. But you can see the curves do look nice with that soft, I think it's a 41 degree curve there. And this is the end of the line here. So I'm itching to get that extra plywood so I can do this here and then take it over because I'm right there. I feel like I'm so close, and this is all a straight shot. So there's no, real curves or anything to worry about with the exception of that flyover. So that's basically it as far as the CSX line. And then as far as the biggest thing that I'm working on. So the next thing is I want to show you a little bit of work that I've done on the CPNS line, and that's basically right here. So I'm not sure if I showed a lot of this on the last video, but I think I showed some of it. And basically what I'm doing is I'm creating the outside of the scenes now. So I took these 1x or whatever they are. Yeah, it's like a 1x2, maybe, I don't know. I guess that's what it is. And I've been basically anchoring them to the benchwork behind it so that you create a cradle basically for this pink foam. And then what's going to happen is the wood is going to act as the mounting surface for the fascia. So this is going to basically be placed here. And then I can shape the fascia accordingly, but still not have a lot of fascia hanging down here where it's going to interrupt the scene. All I need is a little bit so that I can get 2 sets of strip lights like right next to each other, the way I did this up here. And it's obviously going to be smaller than this one down here because it's in the middle of the scene and I don't have too much clearance between the main level and that level. So that's exciting. The most exciting part is that now I can run my trains through here, and if one of them decides to go for a swim and jump over, if there's something to catch it. That side is going to be basically like a hill, like a small hill. So eventually I'll have plaster or whatever there. I just don't want to do that out of foam, and I have nothing to support it with right now. So I tend to run my trains on this side, which is the main anyway. So I got all the way through. And I just realized that the train is running by itself. Yay! I must have hit the button while I was explaining. Yeah, so my SD40-2 here was running by itself. That's fun. Let me bring it back to where it was. I have it back there because I want to show you something. But anyways, so yeah, so I got all this done. And then the only thing I have to finish is just this one section here. So the foam will go in there and all that will be completed. While I'm here, let me just tell you real quick that I was able to get my signals up again, with the exception of that guy right there, only because I don't have the clip yet that's gonna go on that side, and I didn't want to waste wire, you know, trying to extend it or anything like that. So, but it's cool, everything's working. And besides that, the only other, I think I showed you the backdrop already. That's new. And this I'm going to replace because I was going to do backdrop, drop under the beam, and then go straight the way you see it here. But I think what I'm going to do is just go straight all the way through so it looks more even rather than having that drop there for no reason at all. I really don't need to have that beam exposed anyway. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So I'll be replacing that. The funny thing, just a quick funny story, is that when I put this up here, I forgot that the train has to get through there. So I was already up and I didn't feel like taking it down. So I literally just, you know, grabbed some pliers and just ripped it off. And I made a nice professional looking hole there for my tunnel. But at least I can get my trains through until I figure out how to get more of that material. Okay, so I'm just gonna take you on this side real quick, show you one more thing. On this side, I'm doing the same situation where I'm building, you know, a cradle on this side for the pink foam to sit on, and then the fascia is obviously going to go like this and curve around, and then curve around that way. So yeah, one of my other goals is to finish the third level and work my way down, so that I can, any kind of scenery, ballasting or anything like that, any sloppy work is going to get done before I start working on anything down here. Because in my last layout, I did the opposite. I finished my main level and then I worked up and everything was landing on my completed work, and that was really aggravating me. So I stopped doing that. I just got to get rid of the block. This was another plan that I had. So you know, it's not attached to anything, but this is holding the wood up, and it's very stiff, by the way. So I'm just going to take that out. This way I can just stick the foam in there. And then what I do is I put like very thin, like extremely thin wood just here, just to hold it, you know, because again, it's just scenery. It's not like it's holding actual trains on there. So it could be nice and light, and it's very low profile, which is my goal from the beginning, is to make these levels very low profile, rather than sitting them on top of a box or something like that. So, you know, as you can see, most of my stuff is low profile. On the upper part. The bottom stuff, I don't care. This is supposed to have like a lot of elevation and stuff like that. So, all right. So I'm gonna take you back to the other side. One little thing I added here. I think I showed you how this works. This is my leveling or my calibrating motor. So it's basically a piston that comes out of the framework here that pushes this. And then that pushes this into place, because as you can see, it's out of place. So let me just show you how that works real quick. The piston comes out, pushes benchwork, and the benchwork lines up, except it's not lined up right now because I don't have the gate closed. But if it were closed, that would be lined up like that. So the only thing I did extra was that I added this magnet here, because when I was coming back, it was just kind of floating there. So now the magnet holds it in place and prevents it from going, you know, all the way out. So not a big deal, but you know, I did add that. I also added these L brackets here to give it more support, a little, you know, better, like more rigid up here in case somebody leans on this or whatever. So that's that. And Okay, so let me just take you to the other side here and tell you what I've been doing on the panel. Nothing major, but I did find out some other little cool tricks and things that you can do with JMRI. I showed you the route table. So in the route table, I had originally just the startup sequence, and now I added all the staging routes so that I can, all I have to do is hit one button rather than have to switch multiple turnouts when I'm trying to route a train into staging and out of staging. So the outbound and the inbound are both listed there. I'll just see if I can focus here. Yep, inbound and outbound, and then obviously I have a scroll bar because it doesn't all fit, but they're all there. And then I found this thing here which is kind of neat. It's called blocks, and in blocks, I think there's more to it. The only thing I know how to do right now is basically create a tracking system. And I'm going to see if this works, because right now it looks like it's not. So let me just see if I could just close, delete this. So let's say, that locomotive that I showed you before, that CP SD40-2 that was kind of going by itself, that's number 5718. So I entered the value of 5718, and it's saying Belden Hill Siding, which is the name of the block. It's actually the old name because now it's called Saratoga Spring. It's nowhere near Belden Hill. But that locomotive is sitting on that track right now. So what I want to show you is when the locomotive makes its way to the next block, which is called Stairway Junction, because it's a stairway, that number should track automatically. So let's see if I can get that to move. I'm moving the locomotive right now to the next block. So let's see if it actually switches. See, so now it showed up in the next block and it left the original block. So it's the same thing as block detection. Basically whatever is being dictated up here, like this is where the train is right now, it was here. It's what do you call it? It's translating to a number, to data, by showing me as a value rather than a color. But it's kind of cool that you can follow it along just so you know what train is where, rather than just seeing a red line and just guessing what train that is. So basically the goal for me was to try to create some kind of system where I knew what train and which direction the thing was moving in. So I haven't been able to get there thus far, but I did find this other thing that's kind of neat, which is called a marker. All these things that I don't know about JMRI, that you can basically create a tag and then you can move them around by just clicking and dragging anywhere you want. So what I did is I basically numbered my staging locomotives, the locomotives that are in staging, so that I remember the address, number one, and also so I know where they are. So I know that these three consists, or single locomotive, are facing the outbound side because I have them right by those signals here, and I know that this is outbound. And then these are right in the middle of staging, facing that way, because I have a break in the staging loop where you can stack trains. So these are behind those trains there. And again, I know what number they are. But the cool thing also is that you can, like, once you get them going, you move the idea is that once you go into the next block, like let's say that lights up red, you would grab it and put it there. So, you kind of follow along. I was hoping that would happen automatically, and there's probably a way to do that, just like the number values are doing it. But I haven't figured it out, but that would be ideal. And if I can have some kind of arrow so I know what direction they're moving in, that would be even better. But again, I'm still learning. But the cool thing also is that once you're done with that train, let's say you take it off the layout, or you want to just put it in staging and leave it there, you could click here and hit dock, and it plops it up there. So it just kind of gets it out of the way, but it's still there in case you ever want to run it again. You can just grab it and you say, oh, I'm going to put it on this track in staging. Then you can leave it there, and now you know what's there. So that's kind of neat. So yeah, those three things are basically what I've been doing. with JMRI. And then the only other little thing I did is I just actually named the sidings, so I know what's what. Saratoga Springs, Fort Edward, Whitehall, and I don't really have a yard there yet. That's what that's representing, but eventually I will. So I'll have to add more wires to detect that. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Things are coming along nicely. It's just that it's kind of, you know, it's a lot of practice at once. So it looks like I'm moving slowly, but I'm actually making a lot of progress. In update number 27, the goal is to have the CSX line done. And I know I keep giving you like my goals and I never really meet them. So you're probably going to call me a liar. But really, I'm going to really try to get this CSX line done. So then I could actually go to my other goal, which was to finish that third level. The main line is done. I have to get a siding in here. And there's going to be a small yard over there for staging at the top. But that's basically it. All right, I hope you enjoyed the update, and I'll see you on update number 26.